In this video, we're going to talk about the importance and the process of sanitizing in winemaking using Star San. I'm Greg.
I'm Julie, and we're the Crafty Winers.
So it's super important to always sanitize everything that you're going to use in winemaking. Anything that could possibly touch an ingredient that's going to go into your wine needs to be sanitized. If you buy a wine kit, a lot of times they give you a powder, like a detergent that you're supposed to use, and it's probably fine. But through research in winemaking, I've learned that Star San there's just really no better way of sanitizing than this stuff. You need to always sanitize, even if you put something through the dishwasher, even if you sanitized it 3 days ago. You should sanitize it again before you wine make, because you don't know what landed on it. Your water, especially in some smaller towns, could have stuff that lives in it, and any of that stuff that touches your spoons or your tubes or whatever you're using for winemaking could end up in the wine. A lot of times it's going to make it taste bad. It can make it smell bad because you've got bacteria that's competing with the yeast. In worst cases, you could make somebody sick. So you just have to get into a habit of always knowing that you sanitize before you touch anything with anything.
Should we start putting this in the dishwasher too?
Putting the Star San in the dishwasher? That's probably not the worst idea.
Everybody's running out to buy some right now.
So Star San is acid-based. It basically kills everything on contact. Anything that's living, that's small, is going to die. The way that it does it is it's acidic. It's got a very low pH level. It's 3.5 or lower when it's in effect. The cool thing about it is when small amounts hit your wine, it gets diluted to the point that it's no longer acidic. So it's perfectly safe to drink. In fact, it breaks down into some kind of sugar that actually helps feed the yeast in your wine. So it's pretty amazing stuff. It's odorless, it's tasteless, it's biodegradable. It's not harmful to probably anything that you're going to use in winemaking other than soft metals it might eat. So aluminum, don't put at least the undiluted Star San on aluminum because it will destroy it. Researching this to make sure that I had everything right before we did the video, I saw a lot of people in web forums and chat groups and whatever talking about how they mix up Star San and they use it for 6 months. But the manufacturer on their site specifically say that this stuff is only good for about an hour. So you need to mix it up and use it. And the next day you need to mix it up and use it again. The stuff lasts forever, which is what I'm going to show you now. We're going to actually mix it up into a batch. But it lasts forever. I've done a lot of wine with the small amount that's out of this bottle. So no reason to not do it how the manufacturer says. They probably know what they're talking about. So what we're going to do, some things are easier to sanitize than others. But I've got my bucket, and I've got some things that need to be sanitized, including something that's probably, some of these things are a little bit tougher to do. So you see on one side of this, there's a measuring area, measuring cup that's built into this. This makes it real easy. So you're supposed to use an ounce with 5 gallons of water. And I don't have 5-gallon buckets. So what I do is I mix up a half an ounce in my 2.5-gallon bucket, and I put about 2 gallons worth of water. You need to be careful to not put too much Star San in with the water, or you're kind of exceeding what the manufacturer wants you to do. It could become a little bit more toxic at higher levels. So try to stay close to around the 1 ounce per 5-gallon mark. So to use this little dispenser, you take the lid off that side and squeeze the bottle, and the Star San is starting to fill that measuring cup. So every once in a while, just make it upright to see how much is in it. And I basically right now have half an ounce, really close to half an ounce. So Now I just pour that in there. More is not going to fill the cup unless you squeeze the Star San bottle. So you get, it's a pretty easy way of measuring out a half an ounce. If you want to use an actual measuring cup, there's not a problem with that. You probably want to open the other side if you do that. And I don't think I even have the, oh, I do have the seal off, but nothing keeps you from using a measuring cup other than you're going to lose a little bit that's going to stay in the measuring cup. So this is actually a little more efficient. So now I'm going to add about 2 gallons of hot-ish water. I want it to be about as hot as I can stand to touch because that means it's going to dry faster. So the magic of editing, I'll be right back. Okay, so now I've added my about 2 gallons of water, maybe a little bit less because there's so much foam in here, if you can see that. But this is very foamy. The foam is intentionally in Star San because the foam helps it stick to surfaces to kill the bacteria. So just because it's foamy does not mean that it's still active. So like I said, the manufacturer says this is only good for an hour. Just because it's foamy 3 weeks later doesn't mean it's still doing its job. So again, I would trust what the manufacturer says as far as it being good for an hour and discard it, get rid of it after that. Or at least don't use it for cleaning. So I've got pieces to a baster that I'm just going to toss in there. I've got measuring spoons. And then I've got a couple things that are a little tougher. These tubes, which I use a lot of, you'll learn in some of the later videos for various things. And this particular one has wine in it. So probably don't sanitize your Apple Watch. This stuff can be kind of tough on your hands too. I touch it a lot and I notice that I get really dry hands. So you have to start using, if you're doing this a lot, start using lotion, which Julie says I should do anyway.
Yeah, I like Burt's Bees. It's the best.
So what I do on the tubes is I dip them into the sanitizer and then pull them up to run the sanitizer through the tube. You need to have, the Star San needs to be in contact with what you're sanitizing for at least a minute. So with the tubes, I'm going to just dunk it in and out and get it to run down the tube for at least a minute. So this is kind of a pain in the butt, but it's worthwhile. I'm not going to make you sit through a minute of me doing this, so we'll edit and we're back. So items like this can be kind of tough to do sanitizer too. What I do on this one, I'm probably going to get it all over our table.
Okay, don't
Probably
spill
all
it on
over
me.
Julie.
I'm backing up.
Is I'll pour maybe about a third of the sanitizer, or fill it up about a third with sanitizer, and then I'm going to swish it around and make sure that I'm getting it all the way to the top. And again, I'm going to try to not get this all over Julie. But same as with the tube, you need to have the sanitizer in contact with all of the surface, including all the way up to the top for a minute. And the foam will help that. The foam typically will stick to stuff and help kill these bugs.
And you do this to all the bottles
Yeah.
as well.
Well, so when you get to the bottling stage, yes, you're going to do it. You're going to do it to anything that's going to come in contact with your wine, with your ingredients, even the dry ingredients. That's why I did the measuring spoons. You need to make sure that anything that's going to touch the wine, basically, including your hands, are sanitized. So again, I'm going to do this for a minute. I'm going to let the sanitizer touch every part of this measuring cup for a minute. So I'm not going to make you sit through it. We're going to edit this, and now we're done with that. So do this with everything. I pour sanitizer back into my bucket. So typically, if I'm making a new batch of wine, I'm going to reuse this sanitizer, and like I said, it's only good for an hour, but it's going to be better than water to use for blow-off tubes. And don't worry if you don't know what a blow-off tube is yet.
You will.
We're going to cover that soon, but I'll end up keeping this bucket And the fermenting process makes a lot of foam that's going to come out of the fermenter. And a lot of people use airlocks. I always use blow-off tubes, which is going to be a tube that comes out of the top of the fermenter and goes into a bucket. And I use this for my bucket because. Thanks, Nori.
That was our corgi.
Because nobody is going to, no bugs are going to get through this solution up the tube and into my wine. But CO2 can exit the top of the fermenter and go into the star sand.
So what happens if you spill it on something?
Run. No, they say to dilute it with water and then use baking soda. Not baking powder, but baking soda. Oh yeah, like this that you're saying that's on our brand new countertop.
Exactly.
That's eating through as we're speaking. Yeah, if it's a large spill. If it's a small spill, just wipe it up like she's doing. If it's a large spill, if you dump this whole bucket over, and then if it's on a surface that it could damage, dilute it with water, and then add baking soda. Again, not baking powder, but baking soda to soak it up a little bit, and then you can brush it up into a dustpan and discard it, maybe in a toilet. Someplace that's going to be safer. Don't ever rinse the stuff. We're going to do a little magic edit here so I have something to dry my utensils on. So I have magically made this towel up here, and it's been well over a minute that these items have been sitting in my sanitizer. It doesn't hurt if it's longer than a minute. I wouldn't put them in there overnight by any means because you don't want to test what the manufacturer says about this not damaging plastic items or whatever. So take it out after it's been a minute or two. But see all the foam that's coming with this. The foam is good. Don't fear the foam. And let the foam dry on there. What it ends up doing is it'll leave a film on everything that has the foam on it. And that film is still deadly to bacteria. So even after this dries, it's got antibacterial properties. So just let it dry. And the reason I used hot water, like I said, is that the liquid will dry faster because I'm not normally very patient.
Really?
So I want it to dry. I want it to dry fast.
So should you ever rinse this stuff off?
Don't rinse it unless there is a reason that you need to use it while there's still foam on it. I wouldn't put the foam in my wine intentionally. So like a lot of times the bigger items are going to have foam in the bottom. The fermenters are going to have foam in them after you dump the sanitizer out. So a lot of times I'll let them sit for 5 or 6 minutes maybe, and then I'll rinse that foam out because I want to use it. And again, I'm not tempting fate by keeping the foam in there while I'm adding wine into the pitcher or into the fermenter. So this stuff is fine for humans, like I said, especially because it's diluted to the point where the pH level normalizes when you pour it into a solution of wine or something that's a higher pH. Don't let your animals drink it. It is not good for animals. In fact, somebody in our city steading VIP group, their cat got into a bowl of sanitizer that was on the floor, and unfortunately it passed. So don't want to do that because we love our furry friends.
Like this one. Say hi, Nori. Say hi.
Just a little safety blurb. The poison center in the U.S. is 800-222-1222. If you do ingest star sand, there's no reason to tempt fate. So call them, let them know what you did. If it's diluted like it's supposed to, you're probably fine. If you drink it out of this bottle, I would say get a ride to the hospital.
Well, just don't drink it out of that bottle.
Yeah. It will damage your eyes, again, if it's undiluted. I've splashed some into my eyes accidentally when I was rinsing stuff out. It was a little uncomfortable for about 5 minutes. I can still see.
Could you see before?
I could not see. This is really great stuff. Store it in a cool, dry place. Don't get it in direct sunlight. There is an expiration date. This is a organic compound. So there is an expiration date on this, and you want to check that. If you've let it sit for a while, you want to make sure that it's still in effect.
I think it's up,
And I don't see it.
it's up on the back, I think. Is that it? No,
It's a
that's
lot
the lot
number.
number. I don't know.
Yeah, I think ours has got a barcode label that is over their expiration date, I think. I haven't had this for all that long, for maybe a month and a half, but do check the expiration date, because when it expires, you don't want to use it anymore. It's not going to be effective. I think that's all that we wanted to go over. Hopefully you found this video informative.
If so, please like it and subscribe to our channel. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram also. Thank you for watching.
We'll have links to all these items on Amazon in the description below, so check that out. Thanks for watching our video.
And cheers to you.